Okay, hello and welcome everybody on behalf of Rent24 to our beautiful Rent24 co-working site and to today's webinar with the topic Amazon Web Services Secure and Compliant. Today we have some experts with us from T-Systems, Gregor and Rodrigue, who are gonna introduce you to best key practices about managing with AWS. And are going to give you some insights in their work and what they do and how AWS works. There are some free drinks where you can help yourself, free soft drinks. And afterwards, there's going to be a networking session in the T-Systems Cloud Hub on our ground floor here in the co-working space. And of course, I would like to extend a especially warm welcome to all our viewers online all over the world. Welcome. It's a pity that you can't be here physically. You're going to miss out on an amazing location, obviously on some very, very cool speakers and very, very nice and interesting participants. However, you are going to be well informed after this webinar anyway. So that's it from my side. If you have any questions about Rent24, feel free to ask me. Any further questions about T-Systems and AWS, please direct to Rodrigue and Gregor, supposing there might still be open questions afterwards.
Thank you, Raphael. Well, welcome as well from T-Systems side here to this event. And we would like to present you from our experience today and to discuss the topic, which is a hot topic, security. And in order to do that, we'd like to get started with some questions. So we're going to run a poll here into this online chat as well as on site here. And you see just beside me 5 questions that are related to what we say biggest headache when you go in the cloud. So where are really the complexities? Where are the things that organizations are usually struggling with? And I think we could run a poll here also on site, so I can ask every one of you here, what is your view on security and headaches at this stage? So that like number 1, the number 2, 3, 4, or 5. If you can raise your hand and give me an indication from your perspective of what is the biggest headache. So I'm just waiting to see if there's some votes. I see some 4 and 2. So implementation and compliance or configuration. Okay. We're going to get further indication from the poll in a few, but before we get started, I will hand over to Gregor, and he's going to explain you our market view around security in the cloud, and then I will be looking into the details of our offering and operations around this. Okay, well, thanks, and Gregor?
Thank you, Rodrigue. So my name is Gregor Logmin. I am the squad lead for AWS Expert Sales within T-Systems. And I'm very happy to be here today and talk about such an interesting topic with you. And before we go into details, let me begin with some figures about the market and about the development of the cloud. So the public cloud is developing very fast. So in 2020, as of Gartner, there will be a turnover of yearly about $400 billion each year. A lot of companies are using cloud services, public cloud services. One of the driver is AI. So a lot of companies use cloud service for AI. And about 60% of all companies are now moving also business critical applications into the cloud. So it's not like testing or proof of concepts. They are really doing a business in the cloud and put all the important applications into the cloud. And but on the other hand, 73% of all the companies ask for some support when it comes to managing and control all the cloud stuff. And this is what we also see when we talk to our customers. We see a lot of questions. A lot of customers are kind of overwhelmed. They don't know exactly how to manage all the stuff, how to control all the stuff, how to make sure all the security is done in the correct way. And there are a lot of headaches on this side. So we have made a similar survey a lot of times, and when it comes to these headaches, we see that 43% of all of our customers have kind of issues when it comes to visibility of the infrastructure security. They are struggling with implement the compliance into the cloud. They don't know exactly how to set the right security policies. And the fourth point was the security can't keep up with the pace of the change in applications. So the applications are changing much faster than the security can do. And this is a big headache. And these 4 points are exactly the points where our services are built around. So with these points in mind, we have created a bench of services, and Rodrigue will explain them in details after my presentation. And it's very, very cool that we can bring you away from these headaches. The reason for these headaches, or one reason for the headaches, is the impact of or the misunderstanding of the shared responsibility model from AWS. So AWS is following the shared responsibility model. It says that the AWS is caring for the basic security of the data center, but on the other hand, you as a customer, you have to care for all the stuff around your account. So you have to care that it's correctly configured, that everything is fine with your account. And as of Gartner, they are saying in 2022, at least 95% of all security failures will be done by a misconfiguration of the customer. So it's not the problem is not at AWS side, but it's on the side of the customer. So you have to care for it, and Rodrigue will give you some deeper insights about this shared responsibility model, because it's very, very important. Yeah, and what can happen if you don't follow the right way to do it? You can see down under this statement. This is only 3 of, I think it was about 15,000 security breaches of this misconfiguration of AWS last year. It's a number from AWS. So it's very important that you do the security stuff in the right way, or you have the right partner. So the question is, how safe are you? And do you have the right people to do the security? Do the people have the time to do the security stuff? Do they have the right skills, or do you have the right partner on your side? And one of the partners who can support you with this is, of course, T-Systems. And we are doing a lot of when it comes to security. So we take security very, very serious. And what we have done, for example, we have created a website where you can see all the attacks to our environment. So we have about 100 honeypots around the world, and we scan all the attacks on our environment, and you can see it online. So if you go to sicherheitstacho.eu, you can see live the last hours or the last minutes of the attacks, and you can see which attacks has been done. And in this case, you can see in the last minute, it was 32,000 attacks on the environment of T-Systems. So it's very impressive. And of course, we learn from these attacks, and we can learn how to defend them. And so in this way, we can secure our and also the customer's environment. Of course, we are working now with AWS for 2 years now, and we are doing a really good job, I think. And also AWS recognizes this, and we have won some weeks ago the AWS Rising Star Partner of the Year award. So we are very proud of this, and I think this shows that we are on the right way. And this is because we are investing a lot of money and a lot of effort into the training of our people. So right now we have more than 200 people who are certified on AWS. More than 1,000 employees are working within the AWS partner network. More than 600 employees are working in our internal community around AWS, and this is a permanent training program which is behind this. So we are putting all the time more and more money into it to get the people trained, because it's very important as AWS is developing very fast, and you need to keep the pace with AWS and have to invest all the time. So of course we are AWS certified. We are a certified consulting partner. Also for the public sector, we are direct connect partner. This was this morning, I think. Since this morning, we are also certified AWS well architected partner. So if you need support with this point, we can support you also here. So let me give you a short overview about our services. So we have created a bunch of some services around AWS, beginning, of course, with network services. We as Deutsche Telekom are very good with this. So network services, we can offer you a direct connection from your environment, from your data center, or from your network to AWS. On top of this, you can buy also the AWS platform IT systems, so the accounts. And on top of this, we have created some services. The first one is the foundation service. The foundation service is about kind of basic security. We are doing all the data protection and the hardening. We can ensure that all your data is encrypted. And on top of this, we have created an advanced service. It's about the operations of all the AWS stuff. So we are caring for security. We can do all the patches. We can do all the updates. And the security point is the one we are talking today about. So Rodrigue will get much more deeper into it in a few minutes. But on top of this, we can offer you a lot of other services like consulting services, or when it comes to SAP or on AWS, or VMC on AWS. So if you have any questions or any challenges around AWS, we as T-Systems, we are the right partner. So we care for your workloads on AWS from the network to the application. And now I'm happy to hand over to Rodrigue. Rodrigue will explain you in details what we are doing when it comes to security around AWS. But I think he will start with the results of the survey we have done at the beginning.
Thank you very much, Gregor. Yeah, effectively, the survey gave an interesting output. That was the question number 4 about compliance and implementation that has been selected with 64% as being the number 1 concern here. So I think, yeah, that's a really an interesting perspective for us. And I'm going to try to show and demonstrate how good we are in implementing compliance as well through the next slides. But I would like also to tie back to the 4 quadrants that were shown before by Gregor. And really what I'm going to try to demonstrate is that we're delivering compliance, but transparency about what is happening on the platform, as well as compliancy against the security policy that you want to have in the cloud. But also we're trying to cope with the pace of speed. So I will demonstrate to you how we can, manage all of that so that you keep, implementing and using the cloud without being slowed down by us. Yeah, that's the whole challenge that we are facing. So without further ado, I'll just try to use this dongle here and go to the next slide. Well, thank you, Gregor. Just a few words about myself, so Director of Solution Architecture. We got started with AWS back in 2017 in March, and had the remit to work on constructing this partnership from the ground with the T-Systems management. So we went through a long way there. That includes also getting through some certifications for the team. And we got started quite with reading and understanding what it is, AWS. Yeah, and you may have seen this slide quite a lot of time, and there's a reason for that. Is this is really the foundation to understand how to use a platform. And from my perspective, I could remember the first time I read the document, I thought, well, yeah, 5 minutes, I understand it, it's easy. But it's not actually, because when you get into the detail, you understand that it is a complex matter. Of course, all the AWS infrastructure part, that's clear for everybody, what it is down there. So AWS has an infrastructure, connected platform, and deliver access to services. Then when you are a customer, you just in a few clicks are able to create a data center in one region, create a website in 5 minutes, and then you start to be exposed to what we were showing before. The threat landscape is permanent nowadays. Yeah, it's not people, it's robots that are scanning through the environment. So we came with some principle to say what it is we want to do for our customer. And but the first thing is to make it easy. So this is not how we got started. This is what we've achieved in about 2 years working on the project. But we got started with very simple facts, such as ensuring data protection, ensuring that encryption is being used. And typically, if you talk with developers, you would see that they're trying to go straight to the point, and there's not that many developer environment where data are being encrypted. So when you move to production, then you end up with having some issue to how to encrypt the data that was originally in a development environment. So we got started with that very first layer, understanding how to make the platform secure. Yeah? And we move on to 2 layers above, the identity and access management, because for us that was a very good place to handle a first layer of security and logging management, multi-factor authentication, you name it. So these were like the things we start to work on. And step by step, then we integrated some services there. I will go back to this slide that was shown before, but with a different perspective on it. What we want to do is manage cloud services. Yeah? So we have to face challenge of speed of change from AWS. And we took one angle there to say we focus on a very limited scope. So we have a foundation. This is, this part here. The foundation services, it's typically an AWS account ready to be used by DevOps. They have all administrative right. They can do whatever they want, but we've set up a security perimeter around it to ensure that minimal configuration enables the control of it. So we are, centralizing logs. We're able then to put all the logs into a security monitoring. We're triggering minimal alerts about like root usage. Root of an AWS account shall not be used. There must be a reason for that, so that needs to be declared. And we are also ensuring that automatically any bucket being created will be encrypted, so that we get rid of the problem of having not encrypted data flowing through the internet. So that's the first part. And then the second part was to say, let's help those developers to be able to move more rapidly from development to production and offer another layer of services. So we're looking into security and compliance monitoring. We're looking into cost optimization in that area because they are very critical to the production environment. Then we do have as well manage EC2, manage RDS database, of course, and we have the S3 bucket that were integrated before. So we're just focusing on 3 services. We can do much more than that, but our angle is we just need a minimal viable product to get started. The rest is depending on a CloudFormation script that will be launched on the platform, and we are talking about the workload perspective. So only the workload matters. We don't need to be doing long research on each and every services and standardize everything. It's too dynamic and it's not really interesting to do that. It's more interesting to have a conversation around the workload. And therefore, we had to change a bit the angle of what we do on the consulting service. And this is a new space for us, moving from a classic IT outsourcing firm to really a consulting firm in the cloud. So we did that migration, and we are present now on the ground of customer talking about cloud strategy. So not only talking about migrating workloads in the cloud, but also about the whole methodology that comes with it. And we are looking into technology consulting. So we are very keen to do some proof of concept with our customers, giving ourselves 2 to 4 weeks to realize something and concretely show results to our customer. Yeah. So one of the key factors to be fast on AWS is to use the same technology. We need to be very tightly coupled to what AWS is doing, and our strategy is go AWS native first. Don't try to do or overcomplicate. If a service is almost delivering what we need, we can provide AWS with feedback and saying we'd like to have this and this feature available, explain why, etc. And we have a reasonable change to have this being made available over the next couple of months or weeks. Yeah. So these are the list of services we're using, and you see here notably the different splits according to the shared responsibility model, what it is that we are doing. And in particular, we'll see the config. I've got an example here. There were some recent changes in the set of features from config that we were actually looking for about a year ago. And now we've been able to integrate them. It took us about 2 months to integrate all this new feature to make it rolled out automatically in our foundation and advanced packages. Yeah. So as you see, a lot of classic items. And I think the message behind that is the way we are present now on the market is really with our DNA is really to be AWS native. So we get a lot of questions from customers that are also builders and that are doing their own configuration on AWS, clicking through, etc. And we are doing something quite similar, but our value add, I would say, is that we do have much more people usually than our customer working on those topics. And we are already present with landing zone, with security controls that are straight out of the box available in 7 minutes. So if the customer has a budget and a timeline of a year and a half to go through that and train the people and get there, then maybe his choice. But in 7 minutes, we can roll out an account and we can deliver those security control for our client. I'm going to explain that through the next slide as well. It's quite straightforward when you know the cloud adoption framework from AWS, but also concretely, that's the 4 quadrant from Gartner that I've highlighted here, especially the one with the predictive aspect. I'll come back to it over the next slides. What we're doing is providing security controls on AWS. So that's a landing zone that enables to get transparency for a customer, and to control at the workload level as well how the configuration should look like. So preventive, it means simply policy as code. We're ingesting into the account some configuration to make sure this is locked down and with the right level of security, MFA, password policy, permission boundary, storage encryption, and tagging enforcement can be applied also in that space. Yeah. The second one, the detective one, is really enabling collection of login to be able to understand what events are happening. So that gives a transparency for the customers. They get to understand what is present here. And then the third block is about the reaction. AWS enables really to get a high degree of automation on the platform. And this is, I would say, something particular that we've been focusing on, and I will show you the development we've done and what we can come up with here. Okay, so let's go then into the architecture diagram. You have to have one in a presentation, otherwise that's not AWS. The perspective here is what we have on the left-hand side is our AWS landing zone. A very simple one, 3 building blocks. The first one delivers provisioning of accounts. So that's where you got all the preventive controls being set up. Yeah? The second one is about commercial finance optimization. We get cost report, we get third-party tools, and that enables us to understand the spendings on an AWS account consolidated across multiple accounts, multiple masters. Very flexible tool that enables us to deliver, the FinOps type of service for our client. The third one is all about the security response. So the first parameter is to ingest all the logs, and then it's to be able to trigger a response out of it. So that's our very compact landing zone, and that enables on the right-hand side to get all the customer configuration being set. So VPCs or account being splitted according to the best practices on AWS organization and creation of project, etc. So that's the whole environment and the whole flexibility for the customer. It's very important to see that we're not interfering with that process, which is a landing zone creation. This is an enabler of it. It enables to get faster and to also have, I would say, awareness of what is happening inside it from day one. Yeah. So with this best practice, we're able to provide operations, and operations 24 for our customer, and also customized, I would say, operational model based on playbook, based on runbooks that we can drive from there. And one of the key aspects of it is the security monitoring architecture we're using. So to really go fast on understanding what it means, this is an AWS client account where we are gathering all the logs coming from those AWS tools and services. And we just need to have a certain role, obviously, to do that configuration with a script. And that is being launched. It's a matter of minutes, I would say, to set that up. Then all the logs are being then concentrated into S3 buckets. We've got some other peripherals like for Guard Duty and Inspector and Trusted Advisor to create rules. We have event management around SQS to decouple the thing and integrate it towards Lambda. So Lambda gets concretely some event detected, and there's a triage being done according to some customized rules we can integrate into RDS. There are some Elasticsearch event also being added into the Elasticsearch. And at the end, we can take some decisions. So this big block of Lambda, we may be able to spend another hour really on, on that one and opening up the book around this. But concretely, the reaction can be triggered here. So you get an input of an event, and there's a reaction that can be triggered according to rules that are being set in the RDS, in 5 seconds. And it gives concretely the possibility then to enter into customized operation with our customer. Yeah. So this is an example here that I'm showing live. We get a dashboard that explained how many API calls are being denied or created or deleted on a customer account. We got a view, a geographical view around the origin of the API calls. You see a zoom here in Germany, and we can drill down to a specific view. I'm not showing everything there because obviously there's some confidential information that no one should get access to as per account ID and so on. But this is an overall view, and as you can check here, login activity. So we're able to have the full visibility of what is happening and what is abnormal on the platform. We can even choose to say if some events are exception, be blacklisted or to be whitelisted for specific accounts. So we got a full-fledged flexibility. And something I didn't mention before is the architecture I was showing is scalable up to petabyte scale. So this is not going to be really an issue for next year or maybe 2 years if I'm taking a risk. We're not going to have dramatic changes to be done on that front. So that's it for the security and compliance monitoring comes next. So maybe one step back on the security monitoring, we are detecting event API calls. So they are coming over time. And when we're talking about compliance management, we're talking about having an instant view on an account. So it means the configuration of that account. That's another space. So you can enter in any point in time and understand what is the status. Let's say we've got some cases here from customer willing to understand how secure are their account. Then we would connect them to our Packbot. Packbot, jointly developed with T-Mobile US, and we're a contributor of it. You can get access to that tool. It's on GitHub as well, and we're have integrated it into our security DevOps operation. SecDevOps, as I was explaining before. So it's got a lot of feature in it, and I'm just gonna show you one example here of the capabilities of that tool. Yeah, so we've got compliance statement across several rules. We're able to understand how well tagging are being applied to the account. We're able to see trends over time. So here is, for example, trends of policy violation. You see over time how the accounts are behaving. So when we take a customer productive environment, we directly, again, in a few minutes, are able to deliver that type of view across multiple accounts, organizations for our customer. So that's, I think, a lot of value here. We can integrate our own policy knowledge database here is present. You can see I'm scrolling through them. We just concretely are able to add the one you would like to see as a customer, and we get all of this here being integrated afterwards into the dashboard. Yeah. Okay, now what is coming next? It's always about the big thing. What comes next? We have a lot of data. We are learning with this data. And as you may have seen with the arrival of the cloud, we can now break the silo. So we are talking API calls. We are able with API calls to bring all the data together to run analytics and concretely to start to learn about the reaction we should be taking when we observe certain things. Our aim is to deliver a platform that takes care of itself, where you integrate rules, where you have auto correction being applied. And that's where our relationship with the customer is really important. We need to understand what is the appetite for the client to automate as well. As long as we can describe a rule according to what I was showing before in the Packbot or a security reaction, we're able to automate that, and we're able to concretely observe the platform becoming, again, compliant on the other end. Yeah. So machine learning and automated operation or operational excellence. I'm reflecting here to two of the pillars of the well-architected framework that is really, really key for us. Yeah, so the wrap up on this, security and compliance monitoring. Now, if you see the whole architecting block of the data we get access to, and being split into compliance, being split into security monitoring, and then running analytics around that. Yeah, so we've got some pre-assessment, we've got some automation in that space, and telecom operations, so 24/7. Then being able to communicate with our client here as a next step. So this is really enabling us, and I hope that was demonstrative enough to then focus on the workload itself. So you got really a landing zone of managed services with us there, and the capabilities to make it flexible. That's addressing the 4 blocks that was being shown before by Gregor, yeah, and benefits being listed here. So I went through a couple of them. I would insist on security and compliance automation. It's really key that policy as a code, security as a code, infrastructure as a code, all of that comes together, and that's where you drive a lot of efficiency around it. Yeah. We have continuous monitoring and near real-time alerts. That's what we are able to do, 24/7 operation, obviously. And I think the specificity of compliance rule. So again, I think I explained that sufficiently in the earlier minutes of the call. So we can offer, we create as well. We're quite a creative team. We are quite passionate about what we do. And well, we think we are the guide by your side for all what AWS and managed cloud service matters. So I'd like to thank Gregor. I'd like to thank you as well for attending, and our participant online. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat box or contact us. We are available here also on site for the next hour. And thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.
So you said, is it on? Test. Okay. So you said you set up a compliance framework. Could you go a little bit more in detail to which controls you're mapping it? Is it only SIS which one you're mapping, or are there any standards which one you're mapping against your control framework? So is there something already in place?
So we have originally used our privacy and security assessment from the telecom industry. Thanks for asking the question. I didn't emphasize too much around that, but one of the particularities that in our organization and type of business being telecom driven and T-Systems being an affiliate of Deutsche Telekom, we have to follow certain rules that relates to our industry. So we're coming from a very compliance observed organization. And the PSA are actually available online in our website. You can type PSA Telecom and you'll find then the list of requirements we do have. So we got started with this, and we have also some CIS benchmark that is being integrated. The look and feel does not say it's CIS benchmark compliance, but we are working with the T-Mobile colleagues there to be able to show that over the next version. That should enable us to give that view here. Yeah. So the responsibility and the documentation of it, we are at this stage, I would say, in early documentation. There's some contractual terms actually that may require this to happen under the form of a RACI matrix, where we'd be able to really specify this is what Systems does, this is what the client should be doing. We have some clients that do not need that to go forward, and we have some clients that say this is a must. And recently we had the chance to meet some of the later. Any other questions? But thanks, yeah, for asking. It's a very good topic.
So compliance, IAM or access and identity management. So you also provision then users for me. Could you give us a short walkthrough how it looks like and how you could provide at the end logs that I can get a report from my environment? What happened to achieve the current permission status? Are you providing something like this?
Yeah, so you're referring to the onboarding, and we have then a credential being created automatically. We like to have a call with the client and then go through, the first step. And the very first step would be logging in, changing your password to follow certain rules around having, so that we all know those. Minimum length above 3, and obviously the classic corporate environment with special characters, upper, lowercase, and numbers of a a specific size. Then once you've done that, you need to create your MFA, and that's the first very pain point is for someone that do not know AWS is to know how to configure the MFA. Then once this is done, it's very good, but you need to log out. And then you need to log back in to be able to have the MFA here in place. And then when you log in with the MFA, you have that status of a user that is using a virtual MFA. You have a password length, and this is the type of compliance rule that we can concretely react upon according to your own requirements. If you would say as a client, I want that some type of user change the password every day or every month. So that's then enabling us to react on this. Does that answer the question there? Okay. Yep, Philip. When we work with a customer, how do we come to the design phase? Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. So we're talking about the interface between the public cloud and the wide area network. Yes, it does. There's some specific use case for that. Concretely, as Deutsche Telekom, we do have some clients that are using our MPLS and that are looking into transforming their business to go to the cloud. So we have a center role in that case. So we're able to have obviously that conversation. And then the concrete shutdown of a data center type of project, or data center migration project, would open up to that conversation as well to understand what the link is required to do the migration, if any, or if a storage gateway is enough. So we have effectively that conversation. We got a team of really good guys that used to do telecommunication in the past and are moving to the cloud. So that is also, on a daily basis inside our team, making it quite easy. But this is obviously a question of portfolio interaction, and yes, I would confirm that we see this. Okay, are we on time? We okay? So I think we can leave it there for now. Obviously, we're available. There's a couple of T-Systems colleagues that are here on site, and you can join us. We've got a demo on Deep Racer that is running, and we can have other conversation around what we do on AWS, etc. And we'd like to hear about your use case and interest as well. Thank you very much, everybody, and it was very good to have you here on site. Thanks. Bye. Bye.